The next one is depression. Somebody will say, depression in children. Yeah, depression in children. They are also human beings. So we have depression in children. Now, it's not only depression. We have other mood disorders too. When they have persistent feeling of sadness, they have low energy, or they can't just function well in the school. Excellent day, my wonderful viewers. I'm so excited to be with you once again to have the concluding part of the mental issues with children mental issues. My name is Tolulope Yama. I am the principal consultant of Jolly Growth Network, where we build capacity, generate positive energy for accelerated growth. And I'm also the director of education at Jolly Base Co in Lagos. I'm excited to be with you, and I care so much about human capacity, and that is why we believe that knowledge is power, and that when we bridge the gap between the knowledge we have now and the one that we had before, it's going to give us a more productive life. So let's go on. As I said in the other video you watched, that mental health is an overall awareness of how you think, you regulate your feelings, and you behave in the society. So we cannot talk about that in children. Many people have said that, what do we have to talk about children? What do they know? They are just they are still little, they are just growing. They don't have any issue with their mental health. But when you have anything that has to do with disruption or something like interruption in their developmental stages, in the way that it affects their thinking, their behavior, their social skill, or how they regulate their emotion, it can lead to mental issues. Now, there are different types of mental issues you can talk about in children. I will mention just a few of them, which we already know, but I'll just remind us so that even if you can't place the name before, with this exposure, at least you can place the name of some of them that we have. The first one we want to talk about is anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder. Now, it reflects in children when they have persistent fear, when they worry and they have anxiety, and this disrupts the way they participate in school, they play with their friend, or the way they do things with others, especially when you consider their age. So when you have this feeling in children, this anxiety disorder, it affects the way they behave with others. Some of them, you have separation anxiety. Some, they have anxiety when they change the environment. You know, all those things are what we need to pay attention to, not to just wave it off and say, that's how that one is different from all other children. That one is different from what, you know, the way we act. So that is number one. Another one that we educators normally talk about so much that we don't even care to address is attention deficit or hyperactive disorder. We call it ADD or ADHD. When a child has difficulty in paying attention, he has impulsive behavior, is hyperactive, and some combination of all this problem. A child can't just sit in one place. It's always everywhere. He wants to get from one room to the other, and he has to go from one room. He just can't just sit. You know, this is an example. Another one is autism. This it's more neurological condition than we can talk about in all these disabilities. So this one has to do with the gene. So it leads to difficulty in communicating, in interacting with others. So it's a mental issue in children. Another one is eating disorder. Now, many of these children, especially those ones in the teen, they have this disorder, and it is when they are preoccupied with an ideal shape, body shape, an ideal height, ideal weight, ideal physique, to the extent that they complain about everything. I'm not as tall as my friend in my class. Everybody in my class is weighing this. Everybody in my, you know, and before you know it, it results in emotional and social dysfunctioning and life-threatening, sometimes physical harm or complications. So this is not something you just wave off. When the child starts having eating disorder and is always complaining about how he looks, how he feels, how he shapes, how he's all those things, it is a mental condition. The next one is depression. Somebody will say, depression in children. Yeah, depression in children. They are also human beings. So we have depression in children. Now, it's not only depression. We have other mood disorders too. When they have persistent feeling of sadness, they have low energy, or they can't just function well in the school. This is another one. Depression is really, really real, especially in children. We that we are educators, we can tell you, when a child finds it extremely difficult to behave well, to be happy, to even manage its environment in such a way that they display it's risky or unsafe behavior because of wanting to end it all. Then we have another one. We have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. This one is a prolonged emotional distress or anxiety, distressing memory or nightmare and disruption in behavior in response to violence, abuse, injury, or other traumatic event. This one is an aftermath of an exposure to an unpleasant experience, especially abuse. That is why we have to be very, very careful and listen to our children. You know, most of the time, all this abuse come from people that they know. They come from people that are familiar with them. Strangers often don't normally have access to children to the extent that they will abuse them. So that is another one that can cause mental illnesses in children. We have psychosis too. This is a disorder that causes children to have persistent feeling of what is not real. You understand? Their actions are not pertaining to reality. We have categories of under hallucination, delusions, disordered thinking, and other behavioral problems.